Hi, this is Paul on the plane, and this is part 2 of our analysis on images from the LRO, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. If you recall from part 1, the LRO was launched in 2009, and we are told it is orbiting the moon, taking pictures of the lunar surface, but occasionally does send us a picture of Earth. Here in part 2, we'll continue examining and scrutinizing LRO Earth images, and then in part 3, we will focus on the images the LRO is providing us of the lunar surface itself. We'll begin by navigating again over to the Visible Earth website on the NASA domain. Here's a handful of images entitled Earth from the Moon. The link is in the video description. These images also exist on the LRO website gallery of images, unlike the vertical Earthrise image on the Earth Reimagined page with its missing mountain or hill that we analyzed in part 1 of the LRO series. At the bottom of the page here is 3 images that I've downloaded, and these are the ones we'll be focusing on here in part 2. So we're going to drop them all into Photoscape as a first step, and the first image here, as you can see, has had text added, so we know it's been edited with a transparent text file. This image also does not have a box around it, like the ones we saw in part 1. But you can see the little dots, little colored dots around it, which is JPEG compression, meaning, in a forensic analysis of the edge here, it's revealing that it's been pasted onto a background. Okay, the second image here is the so-called original. It has no text on it, but it does have a box around it. What's interesting is that the box shows the Earth image has been very tightly cropped, as you can see when you adjust the gamma brightness. If this was the whole image originally, why is the camera capturing this image with the Earth right on the edge of the frame? And then why would NASA put it on a black background that is just a little bit larger? Okay, the third image here is the really interesting part. It's labeled as a reference map, and as you can see by the file name, NASA admits this is an infamous blue marble image. Good old Rob Simon is credited in the article too, and I'm sure you remember his description of how the blue marble was made, from the MODIS system on the Terra satellite strip data in 2004, right? Here's a brief clip with Rob explaining how it was manufactured.
To us, the really cool thing was the data set. Up until that point, there was no realistic color map of the globe anywhere.
So the land layer here comes from
the moderate resolution imaging spectroradiometer aboard Terra.
And the tricky part here was the weather.
So we actually had to take clouds out.
They stashed the clouds for later, went onto the ocean. That came from an instrument that measures phytoplankton in the sea.
Where it was low, I colored it dark blue because they're low mostly in mid-oceans. And then where it's a little bit higher, it was like a little bit brighter green.
Then add the clouds back in.
There's a small problem with it because there's a very slight gap in between each orbit.
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Then
there was another layer to sort of simulate the atmosphere.
And then there's this little bright spot.
It's called the specular highlight. So it's the reflection of sunlight off of water.
Those are the pieces, but you can't just slap them all together.
It just didn't look realistic. It looks kind of flat, or the clouds are sort of too see-through. So I just hit Command-Z a lot.
There's artistry to creating the world.
Also, you can see the reference map blue marble image is the same exact dimensions as the second image from the LRO, 4,000 by 4,000. Again, the second image we are told is a real one, and NASA emphasizes it here on this page that it was captured by LRO's 2 narrow-angle cameras, one on the left and one on the right. You'd think that would mean we'd see 2 halves of the picture, and maybe by analyzing it we'd have a line appear down the middle of it, or something like that, but we don't. Just a box over the whole image of the Earth pasted onto a black background, it appears. Okay, so back to the reference map. I'm going to pull it into Photoscape here, and click Object, click Photo, and the reference map I'm going to put right on top of the LRO image. And you can see when I start sliding the opacity slider here. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Look how they fit exactly perfectly together. Are you seeing this? NASA has just taken a blue marble composite image that Rob Simon made in 2004 and simply added clouds and made it black and white. We find it really hard to believe they would even release this image and claim it was taken by the LRO from the moon. How can the image from the LRO be real if the images used to build the blue marble are real? What are the odds that this one image they snapped when they say they were calibrating the LRO's cameras in 2010 flying over the moon is an exact match, in fact a mirror image, of the blue marble Rob Simon compiled? Now, some may argue this could be explained because of the differences in cameras' focal length and point out that continents may appear to change size, like this image here that we were given, where North America looks really big. Never mind that the whole United States is a desert, and Texas seems to go all the way across. Well, they say everything in Texas is bigger. But the blue marble, we are told, was taken from strip data by the Terra satellite from 438 miles away from the Earth, and they had to combine all of the data it captured over many months from each orbit to piece together the blue marble image. But it's exactly the same picture the LRO snaps from 239,000 miles away, the same exact image size, and the edge of the Earth is the same distance to the edge of the image in both photos, and all from the same exact angle? There's no explanation for this other than the obvious. They added clouds to the blue marble, made it black and white, and just tell us it was snapped from 239,000 miles away. Okay, so if we go back to the NASA website here and click this blue box at the top right, you will get the same story about the LRO Earth from the Moon image, and you can see the dates that NASA acquired this image, 2010, June, and the date they acquired the reference map, June 2004. So almost exactly 6 years apart, from 230-something thousand miles difference, and they fit perfectly together. Okay, now let's head over to the LRO image gallery, which sits on the Arizona State University domain. The link is in the video description. Here you can find the alleged raw images from the LRO, or real images if you will. Search for Earth here in the search box and you can find this same image, Earth from the Moon, that we've been examining. So here it is, June 12th, 2010, but this is a PNG file. It was a JPEG on the NASA site. You can also see the box at the lower right with the text in it. And if you remember what the JPEG looked like, with the same part of the image missing, NASA said it was cut off because the prediction of the exact time when the camera's field of view would cross the Earth was off by a few seconds. Alright, we'll put the PNG file we downloaded from the LRO image gallery now into Forensically, and use the string extraction tool, and guess what we see? Evidence of Photoshop signature. So much for a raw or unedited image. If there was a court battle and these pictures were submitted as evidence, forensic scientists would, be scrutinizing these images, and they'd find the boxes around them and see evidence it was in Photoshop by the signature, and look for noise and look at the edges and the illumination, and these just wouldn't fly in court, in a court of law. They wouldn't even be accepted as evidence. They would be debunked immediately and thrown out. But so many of these images in the LRO image gallery don't have any noise. So many that it creates a strong, reasonable doubt about the validity of the claims these are real images. Okay, for the final point we will make here in part 2 of our analysis of the Earth images we are told are captured by the LRO, allegedly, we are going to focus on the subject of ambient light. Ambient light means light that is already present before any additional light is added. It's natural light, so to speak. To provide an example, I'm going to drop one of my moon images I took personally with my P900 into Forensically, and by using the level sweep slider, you can see this halo appears around it. And that's its ambient light coming off of the object. Now, whether you believe the ambient light is created by the moon or is a reflection of sunlight, that's not something we're going to debate here. The point is the light is coming from the moon, and as you get further away from the light source, as you can see here, it just gets darker and darker. Alright, now let's pull the PNG file of the Earth from the LRO gallery and do the same analysis and look for ambient light. We should see all kinds of ambient light emanating from the Earth, with, 70% of the Earth being water? Think of the amount of light reflection we should get as opposed to the moon. All the water and the air reflecting sunlight, but no ambient light in this image whatsoever. It should have an even bigger and more prominent glow around it than the moon. So even with no box around it, that tells us this was still a copy and a paste job onto a black background. And then the string extraction tells us it was indeed photoshopped. Yep, so here we have another fake image. Did you know that NASA has released pictures of the sun and it has no ambient light around it too? Are you serious? Check it out for yourself. Okay, that's a wrap on part 2 of our LRO image analysis. Let's quickly recap. This set of LRO Earth images from the moon were created originally, it looks like, as a PNG file in 2010, with the Earth pasted over a black background with a box around it. It then has its box removed and is saved as a JPEG. The reference map they included is a blue marble image comprised of strip data taken from 438 miles above the Earth 6 years earlier in 2004, but it matches exactly with the alleged real image taken by the LRO 239,000 miles away. Secondly, real images contain noise, and if there is light emanating from it, they will also have ambient light, which can be found by adjusting the levels in photo editing software programs. However, none of the Earthrise or the Earth from the Moon images from the LRO have noise or ambient light, because they aren't real. We hope you can see the inconsistencies, the anomalies, the irregularities we are being fed by NASA and these alleged real images of Earth. Why is NASA releasing fake pictures of our world? And tell us that they are, can be used in museums and textbooks and used by teachers and scientists. If the images have been manipulated in any way, then what scientific value do they even hold? Isn't science about the search for truth? On behalf of Archer Sage, this has been Paul on the Plane. Thanks for watching.